I stood on the hill, rain soaking through my jacket, watching 4-meter waves slam into the shoreline. My cabin shook like it was about to tear loose, and down below in the mud, Karen, our HOA president, collapsed, staring at the empty space where my willow trees used to stand. That's how it ended. But let me tell you how it started. Act 1. The conflict begins. My name's Ethan Marsh. 42 years old. Before life kicked me sideways, I was a hydrological engineer. I studied water storms, wave patterns. These days I live in a cabin on Pine Ridge Lake, alone. 2 winters ago, my wife Emily died in a car accident. After that, I couldn't stand the city anymore. Too much noise, too many memories. So I moved here to the place we used to come for weekends, the place where she planted the first willow sapling with her own hands. Emily used to say, "The trees will shelter us from the big waves, Ethan. Their roots hold the soil, their leaves break the wind. Nature knows how to protect itself." She was an environmental science teacher, and damn it, she was right. Those willows weren't just trees, they were guardians, a living wall between my cabin and the lake. And then came Karen Huxley, HOA president, self-appointed queen of Pine Ridge, perfect manicure, fake smile, voice sharp enough to slice steel. She'd been a marketing director once, and she ran the HOA like a corporate board. PowerPoint slogans, community enhancement initiatives. In plain English, that meant forcing everyone else to live up to her version of perfection. My trouble started with a manila envelope taped to my door. Inside was an HOA summons accusing my willows of structural hazards. Attached was a geological report from a so-called consultant. According to him, the roots threatened underground infrastructure. I read the thing and almost laughed. Any real engineer knows willow roots stabilize shorelines, they don't wreck foundations. But this consultant, he couldn't answer a single technical question. Later I found out he wasn't a geologist at all, just Karen's brother-in-law, an REI store manager with a side hustle making fake reports. I showed up at the community hearing with my own folder, city maps, soil surveys, photos of past storms where my trees literally saved my cabin. I asked Dr. Sterling, "Can you explain the soil-bearing capacity you calculated for the willow root zone?" He blinked, looked at Karen, mumbled something about complex methodology. I pressed again. He deflected. That's when I knew this was all theater. Didn't matter. Karen had already decided. She smirked and said, "The trees aren't part of the approved landscaping plan." That was it. And wouldn't you know it? The very day the chainsaws came out, the storm alert jumped from Category 2 to Category 4. Act 2. Escalation and doubt. At first I thought I could fight her with evidence. I found a camera she'd planted on my neighbor Walter's roof, wide-angle lens distorting my cabin to look like some creepy shack. I flipped it to face a tree, took my own comparison shots. At the next meeting I showed them side by side, proved she was manipulating images. For a moment I felt the tide turning. People chuckled when her fisheye projector made her own hair balloon like a cartoon. But she wasn't embarrassed. She doubled down, brought in a slick guy from City Planning Torres in a shiny suit to validate her safety concerns. And when my old friend David Carter, a real estate lawyer, stepped in to advise me, Karen's HOA slapped him with a complaint for unauthorized counsel. That's when I realized anyone who helped me would get crushed too. One night I sat in my cabin with rain hammering the roof, staring at Emily's photo. I thought maybe Karen's right. Maybe I'm selfish, clinging to the past, holding back the community. Maybe I should just let it go, sell the place, walk away before this breaks me. I almost believed it. Then I found the bags. Little white plastic bags buried 18 inches from my willows. I dug one up with my flashlight, smelled chemicals sharp enough to burn my nose. Got it tested. Industrial strength herbicide. Concentrated enough to kill mature trees in weeks. Someone was trying to poison Emily's willows. That snapped me out of it. This wasn't about community aesthetics, it was sabotage. Karen wanted those trees dead before the storm hit, so she could blame nature, not her policy. Walter backed me up, furious about the camera scam. Jake Morrison, a firefighter, helped me test the soil samples. And David, despite being targeted, kept digging into HOA law. Together we pieced it together. Karen wasn't just power-hungry, she was funneling HOA money to relatives' shell companies, bribing officials, and pushing for lakefront view optimization to pave the way for resort development. But the real twist: the forecast. Hurricane Patricia was barreling straight for Pine Ridge, and without those willows, every lakefront property was in danger. That's when I knew I couldn't quit. Not for me, not for Emily, not for the neighbors too scared to speak up. Act 3. The climax. The storm landed before dawn, winds screaming past 120 miles per hour. The lake turned into an angry ocean, waves hammering the shore like liquid sledgehammers. I'd reinforced my cabin as best I could, but I knew this was the test. And then I saw her, Karen, waist deep in the flood, clutching a spray paint can, trying to mark the trunks of the surviving willows. Even with water surging around her, she was still obsessed with documenting tree removal. She wanted to prove to some contractor that the job was substantially complete to secure her payouts. I watched through binoculars as she stumbled, orange paint streaking across bark while waves climbed higher. She slipped, went down in the mud, dragged herself up again, shrieking into the wind. My radio crackled, David shouting over static. "Ethan." I got the recordings. Karen called emergency management at 7 a.m., demanding crews finish tree removal during the hurricane. Said she spent $15 grand of HOA funds and couldn't delay state compliance deadlines. $15,000 community money spent on a personal vendetta, even as people's homes flooded. And then the big one hit, a standing wave 4 meters tall, rolling across the lake like a moving wall. I braced against the cabin window as it slammed the far shore, then came roaring back. Karen was still there, fighting the current, trying to spray one last tree. The water took her off her feet. For a moment she vanished. When she surfaced, she was on her knees, soaked, staring at the orange marks she'd managed to paint before the storm knocked her down for good. Around the lake, the difference was undeniable. Properties stripped bare by HOA enhancements were flattened. Gardens gone, docks, shattered chicken coops washed away. But the houses shielded by willow barriers. They stood strong. My cabin swayed, but it held. Emily's trees bent and danced, absorbing the fury, doing exactly what she said they would. By noon, the winds eased. The lake was a wasteland except for the patches where nature had been allowed to defend itself. And there in the mud sat Karen. Designer clothes, ruined hair plastered to her skull, eyes empty. She didn't look like a president or a queen anymore. She looked like someone who finally realized you can't bully nature into submission. Ending. That was it. No cheering, no victory parade. Just silence, broken fences, wrecked homes. And one HOA president destroyed by her own arrogance. And if you take one thing from my story, let it be this. When people try to control everything, nature always gets the last word.